Hey, thanks for joining us. It's our weekly look at European football, and it's all coming down to the final weekend of the season in Germany, Spain, and Italy. In fact, Italy is where we begin this week. In midweek, Atalanta 1, Juventus 2. Juve win the Coppa Italia. It's their 14th Coppa Italia. That's 5 more than any other side, Quiche. We've been talking a lot about Pirlo on this show and how it's not been the best of seasons. So a cup win is well worthy.
This was really frustrating for me, Ross, because I was absolutely rooting for Atalanta. Atalanta come from a region in Italy called Bergamo, which was the worst hit region for COVID-19 in Italy. People were absolutely left devastated. And the crazy thing is the epicenter of the Italian pandemic was actually the Atalanta-Valencia Champions League game that happened in Milan last year. So, people have been ripped apart. Family members have died. The Atalanta Ultras have had to, instead of support their team in the stadium, they've had to construct temporary hospitals to aid COVID-19 situations within the city. So this was the opportunity for Atalanta to celebrate something after what has been an incredibly difficult, 12, 15 months or so. And so it was really, really frustrating to see that taken away from them. Juventus, I'm not really a fan of Juventus after everything the Agnelli family has done over the last month or so. The appointment of Pirlo itself was a dodgy one. Barely any managerial experience. All he had was the pedigree and an incredibly well-written biography. But put that aside, it was not difficult to imagine this happening to them this season, whatever that has happened in the league, with regards to them being far off the pace of teams like Inter Milan and Atalanta. But I suppose, when you have that amount of players, that amount of quality in your team, even with a substandard manager, a 2-1 victory isn't out of the question.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Pirlo and Juve go into the final weekend as we look at the Serie A top 6 here. They go into the final weekend with a lot to play for. Champions League football is still very much alive, Des Corkill, for Pirlo and Juve, as well as for Napoli and Milan.
Yeah, they've turned it round, Juventus. A couple of big wins as well as that cup have got them back in. It's still not in their hands, though. All they can do is win and hope other results go their way. When they lost, I think the 3-0 it was to Milan, we all wrote Juve off completely, but you don't write Juventus off in Italian football very easily. But they go to is it Genoa on the last day of the season?
Bologna.
Bologna, sorry, on the last day of the season. But that they know that there's an Atalanta-Milan game that could sway things their way as well. If Juventus do make it into the top 4, will that be success? Well, after what happened in the last month or so, and they've been drifting just a little bit further down and down and down, and Pirlo a certainty to disappear, winning the cup, and if they were to get Champions League, is it success? Not normally for Juventus, but it might keep Pirlo his job, It might keep Pirlo his job. If they don't make it, I'm sure Juventus will be ruthless. If they do make it, they might think, okay, there's enough there from Pirlo and from the money, and what do we do with Ronaldo? Because they brought young players on. They're a younger team, despite Chiellini at the back and Ronaldo up front. They have got a younger base to work with, and you can actually over the season begin to see that Juventus are trying to rebuild a little bit. Pirlo might be given the chance, if they make the Champions League, to do that.
Yeah, Cristiano will not play in the Europa League. Will not. Napoli is the current 4th place team. They are at home to Verona on the final weekend of the season. But as mentioned before, the standout tie, Atalanta in 2nd against AC Milan in 3rd. Bob Holmes, at football-wise, Atalanta have got to be favourites going into this. They're actually not in bad form as well.
No, ironically, Atalanta could do Juve a favour by winning this. Atalanta are already there. They've qualified. So you could say, well, do they have anything to play for apart from keeping keeping Juve out? Well, as I say, if they win, that will help Juve. Although it's a very complicated situation, even more complicated than the EPL. But it boils down to if Milan and Napoli both win, Juventus are out. So it's not in Juventus's hands, and there's a pretty decent chance, certainly, of Napoli winning. They're at home to Verona, mid-table team. So you'd say Napoli were going to win. And they'll be on 79 points. Milan against Atalanta, that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I think. Depends how Atalanta react to the defeat in midweek, the cup defeat. It might have knocked them, but they'll probably want to erase the memory and bounce back. So we won't know until Sunday night. So it's a fascinating scenario. Like Quiche, I've been going on about Atalanta all season and about the Bergamo and the pandemic's effect, the fact that they haven't played Champions League home games at home, all the rest of it, and they play attacking football. They are everybody else's favorite team in Italy, I think, after the last 2 or 3 seasons. And I sincerely wish them well. But as I say, they're already there. I just want Juve to be kept out of it, simply for what Agnelli has done.
Yep.
I mean, this is absolutely criminal, and they are investigating, and there is a chance of some sort of punishment for those 3 teams who are still clinging to the Super League entrails. Yeah, they'll probably.
Bet it doesn't come to any fruition, Bob. I'll have you.
I would say so too, but they're looking at it. They've got to do something. It'll probably just be token, but I sincerely hope they don't make it, because what they have done is absolutely a disgrace. Them and Real Madrid are the 2 big culprits in this, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, already relegated from Serie A, Benevento, Crotone, and Parma. What a terrible season it's been for Parma. We remember when they were great. Nakata played for them. Remember that? All right, here are your Italian Serie A fixtures for the final weekend. Inter against Udinese, Bologna against Juve, Sassuolo against Lazio, who are 6th. Atalanta Milan is the standout time, Monday, 2:45 a.m., and Napoli against Verona. On to Germany we go, where the relegation situation is not totally settled. Well, it is for Schalke. They're confirmed down. There's no way for Schalke. But as we look here at the bottom half of the German Bundesliga, Köln, Werder Bremen, Arminia Bielefeld are very much in the fight. Of course, 17th and 18th in Germany are relegated. The 16th place team plays relegation promotion playoff against a team from the lower division. So going into this weekend, Quiche, you've got Stuttgart 9th against Bielefeld 15th, Bremen 18th against Gladbach, who are 8th, Köln 17th against relegated Schalke. So Köln will look at this weekend's pictures, and think, all right, we've got a chance here. I say that, though, out of all the bottom 3 teams, Schalke are the one going into the weekend with form, because they actually won last time out.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily look into that as any semblance of a form for Schalke. They've been dreadful this season. So a team like Köln will look at Schalke and think to themselves that that's the real opportunity there. Obviously, you can make that argument that they've got nothing to lose. They're guaranteed to go down. So Schalke will, they can play freely with a lot of freedom, and that might influence the outcome of the game. But the bottom line is, there is a general feeling of dread all across their squad that is reflected whenever they play on the pitch as well. And wins have always come across as isolated events as opposed to them genuinely building momentum. So I think Cole would look at this and sense a real opportunity here to get themselves not just necessarily into a playoff spot, but even completely out of the relegation area altogether. Because make no mistakes, Werder Bremen and Bielefeld are up against difficult games against Stuttgart and Mönchengladbach, who've both been 8th and 9th. And Mönchengladbach in particular, it's going to be a difficult one because it's Marco Rose's
final game.
No. Marco Rose has left the club. But the point is, Mönchengladbach they started the season with a lot of expectations. This was supposed to be the year where they completely pushed. They were in the Champions League as well, and we all remember how they played against Real Madrid, completely dominating them. Players like Marcus Thuram doing exceptionally well. So this was supposed to be the season where Mönchengladbach really genuinely pushed, and they're out of the Champions League spots now. So it's frustrating, and they will want to end the season on some form of a high as well. So that will be really, really difficult. Bielefeld, I just want to point out that there's someone in Bielefeld that has really, really caught my eye all through the season. And I would absolutely love to see this guy in the Premier League. His name is Ritsu Doan. He's a Japanese player who looked really, really good in what has been a difficult season for Bielefeld. Scored against Bayern Munich even. So, for Ritsu Doan's sake, I hope Bielefeld stay up. But obviously, if they go down, then the shopping spree begins.
Yeah. So once again, that's your bottom half of the German table. That's how tight it is at the bottom. And it is Stuttgart against Bielefeld, Bremen against Gladbach, and Köln against Schalke. All Saturday, 9:30 p.m. kickoffs. Now, here is the top 6 in Germany. We know Bayern are champions, yawn. But Leipzig, second, confirmed. Now, 3rd and 4th, they're on level points at the moment. It's a mark of how well Dortmund have done to get themselves back in the running, Des Corkill, put themselves back in the Champions League reckoning, and that's good stuff for the interim Terzic.
Well, you just look at their form guide. It's www. It's an extraordinary run, and you had the cup win there as well. I was kind of writing them off, saying, clearly the idea of having young kids in the team and selling them, it can't be a philosophy that breeds success. Well, maybe the guys at Dortmund know a lot more about football than I do, because that coming to that winning surge at the end of the season has got them Champions League. It may well enable them to keep one, if not both, of Haaland and Sancho. Everyone's talking about them moving on, but they're young players. They've clearly been given responsibility at Dortmund. They clearly have an opportunity to play the big games. They're clearly trusted and arm around the shoulder. Why wouldn't you give it one more year to see if you can push Dortmund and do well in the Bundesliga as well? We've seen many, many young players move to big clubs and it not work out. So that it could be, this run could be financially good for Dortmund as well, in that they don't necessarily have to sell those players off. And it gives them a choice. Do we choose to? If they choose to, great. That's up to them, and the players happily go. And Haaland, I'm sure, will hawk himself around the clubs once again. But they also have given themselves the opportunity to keep those players. So credit Dortmund for making that philosophy work. And I think they are in the Champions League definitely next year, aren't they? Yeah, top four. Top 4 is Champions League. So really good surge at the end of the season. Congratulations to them. Also, for me, the story, Wolfsburg. I'm very pleased for Wolfsburg. They're a much smaller budget, very, very different philosophy, very different mentality, under the radar. We'll see them go out in the first round of the Champions League next year, but at least they'll be there.
No, I just want to point out that I completely agree that I want, from a neutral's point of view, I genuinely want one more season at the very, because we know all the stars are going to leave Dortmund at some point. It's the Dortmund way of doing things. They've completely accepted that as well. But for this, I just want another season of this squad. Marco Reus is on form, taking a break from the Euros this summer as well to protect his body. He looks good. We've got Erling Haaland, Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham. He hasn't even played in front of the yellow wall just yet. We've got Giovanni Reina. It's a really good squad. And make no mistakes, next season, you've got a bunch of changes happening all over the Bundesliga. Frankfurt are going to have a new coach, right? Mönchengladbach are going to have a new coach. Julian Nagelsmann walking into Bayern is not a guaranteed success. He's young. He's going to need to get the players to buy into his methods. There's going to be players leaving. There's at least 3 central defenders leaving the club already this summer. So there's going to be wholesale changes at Bayern Munich. At the same time, Jesse March is coming in from Austria into Bundesliga to take charge of Leipzig. That's not going to be an easy transition. So Dortmund, if they keep this squad, and with Marco Rose coming in, who's the more experienced guy in the Bundesliga, there could potentially be a window for them to push and win the Bundesliga title next year. So for that sake alone, I hope we get to see another season of this Dortmund side.
Yeah. There you go. Here are your top 6 and their fixtures for the weekend. Bob, I mean, for me, the most likely to leave Dortmund, I would say probably Jadon Sancho. He's been integral to how they've come good again.
Yeah, but where's he going to go? Man United?
I think Liverpool and Chelsea want him as well, don't they?
Liverpool won't pay that sort of money, I don't think. Yeah, I agree. He's probably the most likely to leave. But I agree with what Keisha's been saying. I think they can sniff an opportunity here, a rare occasion, if the stars all align favorably, if they can hang on to those players. Nagelsmann has got a difficult job there with those old hands at Bayern Munich who think they know everything. The Uli Hoeneß and Rummenigge and crowd. And if he doesn't get off to a good start, there could be trouble. They've got a history of this. They're not easy to work with. And Nagelsmann is virtually only a year or 2 older than some of the players. And although he's made a name for himself, he's not got really a body of solid achievement.
No,
and
not won anything yet.
No, I think that he's still got it to do. He comes across as a smart cookie, maybe a little bit flash, a little bit know-it-all. I mean, he didn't have a career like Brendan Rodgers. He was injured very early on in his playing days, and he took to coaching early. So he's been a coach for a number of years. But he hasn't actually won anything big. And I think there are still doubts. And I think the combination of a little skepticism from the players and those senior German figures at the club, he's got a tricky assignment. And with strong opposition, if Dortmund can hang on to those players, I think we could be in for a rare treat next season in the Bundesliga. I hope so.
All right, here are your top 6 in action over the weekend. It's Bayern against Augsburg, Dortmund against Bayer Leverkusen, Wolfsburg against Mainz, Frankfurt against Freiburg, and Union Berlin against Leipzig. On to Spain we go, where as we take a look at the bottom half of La Liga, the relegation situation is far from settled in Spain. So massive amounts to play for. Literally any one of those teams you're looking at there, Eibar, Valladolid, Elche, Huesca, Getafe are probably safe. So 17th to 20. You've got 3 to go down there, Keish. What a weekend. As we take a look at the bottom, the games at the bottom, Elche take on Bilbao, 9th. Valladolid, 19th against top of the table, Atletico, who need a win. Yeah. Eibar, 20th against Barcelona.
I think the more difficult one, honestly, is for Valladolid. It's difficult because they're going up against a side that generally needs to win as well. It's different with Barcelona. Barcelona obviously want to win, but the title is out of the picture already for them. It's more about pride. But with Atletico, this is a rare opportunity to dismantle the dominance of Real and Barcelona on the La Liga title. To be fair, they shouldn't even be in this position. To be fair, Atletico should have wrapped it up a long time ago, because at one point I think they had a 10-point gap. They had a 10-point lead, but they completely blew it. They can't look at anyone else but at themselves and blame themselves for not wrapping it up early. But the reality is they now find themselves in this situation, desperately needing a win, because Real Madrid are up against
Villarreal.
correct. A Villarreal side that, I mean, you could argue, you in terms of Europa League spots or in terms of wanting to finish as high as possible in the team. But the bottom line is, it's a Villarreal side that's on the beach already. It's a Villarreal side that will have one eye on the Europa League final as well. So it might be a bit easier for Real Madrid in that sense. But for Atletico, this could be difficult because Valladolid will be looking to scrape everything and anything they can from this fixture.
Literally playing for their lives. Literally.
Yeah, literally playing for their lives. Exactly. And someone was saying that, what do you call that? The Brazilian Ronaldo, who owns the club, should do Real Madrid a favor by dusting off his boots and getting on the treadmill and prepping himself for this one.
You have to lose a bit of weight.
A goal or two against the Valladolid could genuinely help Real Madrid's cause.
Yeah, he could bring back the haircut as well, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just a last quick word, Des. I mean, you couldn't script it. That the team bottom in La Liga could literally escape relegation going into the final round of matches. It's brilliant stuff.
It's exactly what you want. I'd feel for Valladolid though. That I think they've got one win in 18 or so, and because they were happily mid-table until at the halfway point of the season, they have just plummeted. But you can see it in the stars. They will scrape a last-minute equaliser against Atletico Madrid off somebody's backside. Real will win the title. Atletico will be in tears. Valladolid won't be any good for them. They'll still be relegated as well. They'll still be on this losing streak. But Atletico should beat Real Valladolid. But football. I've given up predicting in this stupid year, a crazy year. But Valladolid, I think Eibar have got a problem. Elche and Huesca, the smaller clubs, what an opportunity for them to stay in the big table. We talk about in England, it's less obvious in Spain, but the smaller clubs, they come up through the regional leagues, they put a good team together, and then as soon as they get a bit of success, they plummet down again. You've got this very much a yo-yo right the way down the leagues in Spain. So for the likes of Huesca, if they can stay up, brilliant for them. As you say, Getafe is safe. Elche, great opportunity for them as well. But Valladolid are the ones who've got to take on Atletico Madrid. Feel for them.
Here's your top 7 in La Liga. Looking at the weekend, top 7 because Villarreal still have a chance to get into the Europa League spots. Of course, they are in the Europa League final next Wednesday. So again, do they feel that it's the same thing, Bob, that's facing Ole? Do you feel your first team side? I mean, it's Real Madrid away, for goodness sake.
Yeah, well, Unai Emery, if anyone knows what to do, I think it's him, isn't it, in these circumstances. He's been there before many times and had a similar problem because Seville were always on the fringes, fighting for Europa League places while it was still in the competition. I mean, that was almost an annual event. So he'll know what to do. And he's done a good job. And, if it wasn't for the fact that he'd been Arsenal manager, he might be under consideration for the Spurs job. Because, the cupboard is bare. The cupboard is bare, isn't it? I mean, they've been turned down by their number 1, number 2, number 3 choices, I think. Brendan Rodgers, the Dutch guy, Ajax guy, whose name escapes me momentarily. Ten Hag. And Max Allegri. And so I think that anyone who's got a record like Emery, he'd be up there. But that won't happen. If they certainly won't have him back. But I think he's a bit of a dark horse for the final. I think he's going to put his eggs in the final basket, and this. I think he'll be very carefully shepherding his players here. He knows all about Real Madrid. I mean, he could go gung-ho and still end up losing. I fear Real Madrid are going to win this game, and it's up to Atletico to win their game. I think that's how it's going to be decided. And I'd like to see the betting for the final, Villarreal against United. I think it's probably a fairly 50-50 job, that.
All right, Osasuna against 5th place Sociedad, Celta Vigo 8th against Betis in 6th, Sevilla 4th against Alaves in 15th. That is La Liga. That's your final weekend in a nutshell in Germany, Italy, and Spain. Hope you've enjoyed watching and listening to the guys. I've got to say thanks to Bob Holmes, to Kishnan, and to Des Corkill. We hope to be around over the summer. Have a good one. Bye.